Hello, Vanessa, Aminata, Melissa, Jennifer, Joanne, Danielle, Veronica, Tiffany, Beth, Candace, Ruth, Bambi, Christina, Nicole, Ariana, Maria, Letitia, Amanda, Natalia, Gazelle, Joe, and Karen. Thank you for your excellent contributions in our week one discussion forum. I really appreciate all of the stories that you told, and thank you for sharing some of the challenges that you faced. There's a lot there. There's a lot of really difficult situations, times where many of you really just had to step up and do the right thing. And I'm grateful for the stories that you shared. I can't respond to everybody because if I responded to everybody in the forum, that would be way too many posts. And we already have more than 100 posts to read each week because there's so many people in the class. And I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to lift up a few things that that I think are helpful to advance the conversation. Melissa started our conversation off with her story of being a new member of a team and seeing some things that were very harmful going on that team. And she spoke up. And that's really one of the toughest things that we could do as ethical leaders, is to speak up, especially when we're in a new situation, when we're the new person on the team. But sometimes it's the best thing we can do. A lot of times it's the best thing we could do. As Melissa pointed out, she was new, so she had a certain perspective that other people didn't have. And she had a voice that people in upper management maybe would hear a little more clearly since she was new. And so she used that position to have influence to make a positive change. And that's what ethical leadership is to use the influence that we have in whatever position that we are to make positive changes, to make life better for the people that work for us, the people that work with us, and for the people that we serve. Joanne had a great comment about not taking the vaccine because it was not her time in the distribution plan. And there are other people who may have felt, you know what, I'm going to take an elderly person and take them to the vaccine because then I can get my vaccine. And her story was an excellent illustration of cases that are ethically complex. While I agree with Joanne that waiting for our turn is a good thing to do because of the limited supply, I think we also need to understand that there are some people who might have a lot of fear, who might have a condition that isn't technically on the list of compromising conditions, but they feel like, well, I'm at greater risk. And so they make an effort to take an elderly person because according to the rules, if you take an elder to get the vaccine, then you could get the vaccine too. So they're not doing anything wrong according to the rules that are set up. But I completely understand why Joanne was like, maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe I should step back to let somebody else be able to get the vaccine. It's a way of thinking that serves others. And I think that is a way of thinking that benefits the world, that makes the world a better place. Christina talked about a situation in which it seemed like something was wrong. It seemed like her manager was doing something wrong. And so she followed her intuition. She followed her instincts. And there are lots of times where that is a beneficial thing for us to do. I would say if it feels wrong, take that seriously. We have kind of natural intuitions about ethics. And a lot of times those are right. If something feels wrong, there's a pretty good chance that it is. which is not to say that we shouldn't reflect. It's not to say that we shouldn't think about things and see if there's other options or another way to do things, or if our intuition could be wrong. Sometimes it is. But generally speaking, if it feels wrong, that's a clue that you should at least stop and reflect and consider before you do that action that feels wrong. Bambi talked about empathy. Her boss lacked empathy. And empathy is something that, while it's not specifically, an ethical rule, is something that really enables ethics to be possible. Because if we can't empathize with others, if we can't put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, it's virtually impossible for us to treat them well on a consistent basis. The platinum rule that was introduced. I mean, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the golden rule, which is do to others as you would have others do to you. And the platinum rule takes that a little bit of a step further, makes it a little bit more reflective. Do to others as they would have you do to them. To take into consideration the way that other people might think, which might be different from the way that we think, and to treat them in ways that are consistent with their own perception of the world and their own desires. And it's empathy that enables us to do that. If we think about how might that person feel, and how would it help, what action of mine would help them to progress and to not be hurt. Natalia, I want to thank you for your video contribution. That was great. And anybody else who would like to make a video contribution, that would be wonderful. It's nice to have this kind of interaction, even if it's only one way, but for me to have, and other students to have the opportunity to see your face and hear your voice is a wonderful thing. The last thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is Letitia's example of the person at the party who was surrounded by coworkers, and a manager was also there, and got drunk and was going to take off some clothing and jump in the pool. Tough situation. And I think clearly, as Letitia said, the right thing to do is to stop somebody from doing that, to stop somebody from acting in that way that would clearly be destructive of their integrity and their career. And the thing is that we often have those opportunities, maybe not as blatant as the example that Letitia raised, but we often have the opportunity to pull people back a little bit from making a mistake, to encourage them to not do something that would be a harmful choice for themselves or others. And that really is one of the big things about being an ethical leader. Of course, it's the internal piece of acting with integrity, as so many of you did, and so many of your stories, acting with integrity and acting with courage, but then also encouraging, assisting, helping others to act with integrity and courage. That's the leadership piece. So again, thank you for all of your excellent contributions. If there's any way that I can be helpful to you, please reach out to me, and I'm looking forward to our next set of discussions. Thanks.